Hi everybody, welcome back to Mentor and yet another video podcast. It's great to see you all back again. Today I am going to talk about something that I have received a lot of questions from you guys about, and it's the academic requirements in order to join an airline or a flight school. Okay. I am going to talk about the requirements for UK airlines and to some extent US airlines, and also some pick and mix from the rest of Europe and the world. Okay, so stay tuned to the end, especially you guys that are looking from the US. There will be some more descriptions about the requirements in the US later on in the podcast. Okay, so first of all, before I start, I want to leave a little bit of a caution note here. It seems to be a lot of different requirements between individual airlines and between individual countries out there. So I urge every one of you guys who are about to enter flight training to go into the specific airlines that you're aiming at, look at their careers or their pilot recruitment options on their homepages, and see what the exact requirements are so that you don't get disappointed because you're missing an A level or something like that. I am only giving you some general pointers from what I have found, and I have been looking at web pages like different flight schools and different airlines. That's how I've found these things. So you can do the same. Make sure that you do so before you start your training. So first of all, we'll start looking at something that's fairly universal. Okay. All airlines will require you to do a criminal records check. A criminal records check is something that you do with your local authorities. It's normally the police authorities that does this in your home country, and it's a check of your criminal history or criminal record history that goes back about 5 years. So you need a clean criminal record check in order to join any airline or any school. The reason for that is fairly simple. You need to be able to get a badge to go airside, and in order to get one of those badges, you need to have one of these clean criminal record checks. So that's something that you will get, and they will ask for in any airline that you try to join, wherever you go. Another thing that seems to be fairly universal is language skills. So generally, you need to be fluent in both written and spoken English. In some of the non-UK speaking countries, you will only need a level 4 or above in order to join an airline, but in most of the English speaking countries, that includes Australia, UK and the US, you need to have a level 6 if you're a non-English native speaker, which is the highest level of aviation English out there. And I've actually done a podcast about aviation English earlier on, so you can have a look at that if you want. So, good English, criminal records check. Other things that they will always put out is good teamwork skills and things like that, which is very hard to quantify, but they will still have them written there because that's basically what your interview is going to be all about. Now, if we go into the specific requirements if you're going to join a UK airline. So once again, there are differences here between the different airlines, but I've looked at a few of them. And it seems like it's fairly universal in the UK that they require you to have at least 5 GCSEs with grade C, as in Charlie, or higher. They should include math, science, and English language. You also need to be able to demonstrate completion of secondary school, so I'm guessing that's a certificate that you'll get. Once again, I'm not formed part of the UK school system, so you will have to interpret what I say and make the most out of it. In all of the UK airlines, you need to have the work to freely work within the European Union, which you'll get automatically if you are a European citizen. But if you're not a European citizen, then you might need work visas. And that will also come when it comes to the US airlines later on. There are a couple of requirements when it comes to height. This seems to be fairly common throughout the airline world. And the measurements that I have found most commonly is you need to be between 1 meter 58 centimeters and 1 meter 91 or up to 2 meters long. Now, the reasons for this is ergonomics, really. You need to be able to sit down into a pilot chair without hitting your head in the overhead panel, and you also need to be able to reach the pedals, hence the lower length requirement. Good. Then there are a few of the UK airlines that seems to have slightly higher academic requirements as well. EasyJet, for example, when you go in through the CTC website to look at their cadet program for EasyJet, they say you need to hold a minimum of 2 A levels on top of the 5 GCSEs, and they should be graded BC or above, and they also need to be science or math based. Flybe has even higher requirements. They also need you to have an honors degree, and at 2:2, what that means, I don't know. Or you can have a higher degree than that. You can have a PhD, for example. That goes for the UK, so that seems to be the requirements that I've found so far for the UK. Now, if we go into the US, then the system in the US is slightly different than in Europe. So in Europe, you can join a cadet scheme, and you can go through your ab initio training, and when you have achieved your licenses and you have around 200 hours with your Frozen ATPL and your MCC course, you can apply for an airline and go straight into flying as a first officer in that airline. The FAA, which are the Federal Aviation Authorities in the US, they have adopted a rule where you need to have at least 1,500 hours of total time in order to work for an airline. So that is a significantly higher requirement than you have in Europe, and it will be a hurdle to get over. So you need to get your licenses, and once you have your licenses, which are similar to the ones you need in Europe, then you need to get that total time somehow. So that would be through pulling gliders, working as a flight instructor at a flight school, flying para jumpers, or crop dusting, or anything really to achieve that 1,500 hours, and then you can start applying. Okay. But on top of that, most of the major US airlines that I've looked at, the home pages are, for example, Delta Airlines, they require you to have a 4-year college degree. They don't specify exactly what kind of college degree that is, but it needs to be a college degree of at least 4 years. If you are a foreign citizen and you come in and you apply for them, you need to have the equivalent of that. So you need to go to their educational authorities and get whatever college degree or university degree you have assessed to be at a 4-year college level or higher in order to apply. Also, you need to be able to work in the US. You need to have a green card if you're a foreigner, or you need to be a US citizen, and that's also something that can be a bit of a hurdle to get over. And also something that's slightly different that I found is that most European airlines requires you to be at least 18 years of age in order to start working for them. However, all of the ones that I've looked at in the US need you to be at least 23 years. So, well, that would coincide with you having a 4-year college degree. Some of the airlines should be said as well that I've looked at, including some of the low-cost carriers in Europe, and actually some of the bigger airlines in the US as well, does not have any academical requirements at all. So there are still ways to get into the airline industry without having done a college degree, or without having any A levels or university degrees in Europe. But it seems like it is a fairly good bet to get a college degree or to get a university degree if you want to have the ability to apply for all of the different airlines available. So some of the other European airlines I've looked at is, for example, SAS, Scandinavian Airlines System. They require you to have upper secondary school leaving certificate, or allmän högskolebehörighet, which is called in Swedish. Lufthansa has a general or specialized university entrance qualification as a minimum requirement to join their cadet scheme. I haven't looked at Air France. I know that their requirements are fairly high as well, so just go into their website and have a look. And I've also tried to look at some of the Chinese and Asian airlines, but I can't really find much of academic requirements on them. However, what I've what it looks like is at least the Chinese airlines, they tend to be hiring only native first officers, and they're taking in direct entry captains positions. So they're taking expats to join them as captains, but when you wonder if you want to join as first officer, it seems like you need to be a Chinese citizen to do so. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of other airlines out there, and I'm guessing that they all have their own individual requirements. So feel free to go in and look at the web pages and just verify that what I'm saying is true. But for now, I hope that has been a little bit helpful anyway. If you have any further inquiries about this, just ask me and I'll try to find the answer for you. But for now, all of you out there, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.